Michelangelo into the blue on heavenly wings. Cargo hand bones don't take off, no smoke, no mirror, no strings. I can't take off these dark shades. I can only say how it's too beautiful. Our town on TV. Our town, there's you and me. Upside down, hanging out of an airplane.
Welcome to Our Town, and I'm your host, Larry Frost. We have a great show for you today. In our first segment, we'll be going down to Amesbury's Emergency Management Building, where we'll be talking with Director Donald Swenson. In our second segment, we'll be going down to the Mighty Merrimack, to Lieutenant Derek Hines Bridge, and we'll kind of go all the way around the bridge. I took the footage back March 31st, and I'll give you an indication of the high piles that were actually being driven into the ground. So let's get started. Welcome. In this segment, we'll be at Amesbury's Office of Emergency Management to talk to Director Donald Swenson to see what our town has set up for emergencies. So let's get started.
Good afternoon. My name is Donald Swenson. I'm the Emergency Management Director for the town of Amesbury. This is the Emergency Operations Center for the town. Our emergency phone number is 978-388-8155. We're staffed pretty much during the day, every day. And we just want to show you the equipment that we have here at the Emergency Operations Center. This is our communication center. We staff this during emergencies such as disasters, when we have Seabrook nuclear power plant exercises. Over here we have our portables that we take with us to go to different scenes, whether it's a fire scene or a flood or disaster or whatever we need them for. That's our communications for our people back to here. Over here we have our fire and police radios that we can communicate with both fire and police. Over here we have two phones. We have 12 incoming lines that we can answer, so we have plenty of lines. Over on this side here we have our communications with the state of Massachusetts, with the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency. We can talk to them directly during any exercises or disasters, or if we need to get some resources. And over in this corner here we have our amateur radios, sometimes referred to as ham radios, where we can communicate with different amateur radio people and so on and so forth. This is our logistics room where we staff for people during emergencies, during floods and any type of disasters. And I would like to just give you a tour of the logistics room. Over here we have where our fire representative sits, and that's a firefighter who comes over. Over here we have the police representative, which we have a police officer come in. Over here we have the Department of Public Works, where the representative, whether it's the Director of Public Works or his assistant. Over here we have logistics, where They come in and they set up for busing during evacuations, especially for schools and special facilities. Over on this side here, we have our special needs. We staff 3 people for the special needs, and those are for people who need assistance during evacuating. Over here is our radiological officer's chair. He's responsible for any radiological that may be coming from the nuclear power plant. Over here we have the municipal official where the mayor or somebody from the mayor's office represents during disasters. And finally over here we have our admin. She is like my secretary. She takes all my notes during the drills and exercises so that we have information to go back on. You'll notice on the wall here we have our emergency classifications. This is during a Seabrook power plant exercise. They have 4 classifications, and they start off usually with an unusual event, an alert event, site area event, general emergency. And we always put the time and dates on here so we know what's going on. And like I said, over here is the huge transportation board, and it lists on the left-hand side, it lists the schools and special facilities, daycares, and then it lists what time the buses will go out to those facilities, what time they will arrive, and what time the buses will go to their destination, whether they go to Boxford or they go to Methuen.
Well, we'll finally get a chance to sit down with Director Donald Swenson. How do you do, Don? It's been about 2 years for us to do this, but we're finally here, and we'd just like to ask a few questions so the viewer gets a chance to know him better. How long have you been in this position here in Amesbury?
I've been Emergency Management Director in Amesbury for 4 years. I've been with this agency for 12 years. Prior to this, I've actually been in emergency management. Back when I started, it was civil defense. Since 1969, wow. I was in Salem.
You're older than me.
Then I went to Beverly and was involved with the Beverly Emergency Management for about 5 years before coming here to Amesbury.
So you've seen a lot of changes then from then till today?
Yeah, a lot of changes. Back when I first started, it was civil defense, and it was more Cold War stuff. And as the Cold War ended, they began to change the name to emergency management, and it encompassed a lot more things that we do. Here, what we do is every 2 years we have a graded exercise with FEMA on the Seabrook nuclear power plant. And I'm glad to report that last year we got an A+.
Oh, excellent.
We also here have what we call the rehab for fire department. We actually go to fires and we provide coffee and water and food to the firefighters, give them a chance to rest and to cool down. We also handle floods when there's floods. We also work with the Red Cross on sheltering people. If we have a major disaster like we had back in 2008, the ice storm, and we had to evacuate because some of the, especially elderly, lost their power.
Oh, yeah.
We find them shelters where they can stay. In case of fires, if there's people displaced from their home, we contact the Red Cross and work with the Red Cross to find some place for these people to live. We do a lot of things. My agency is very
behind
busy.
the scenes, a lot of things.
Exactly, and we also help out the police department. We do traffic for the police department during parades. We also help with crowd control during parades.
How many people staffed here, usually?
We usually have, we call the Dirty Dozen. We have usually around
12, right?
we usually have 12 people, not all at the same time. When we do, for instance, I mentioned the Seabrook exercise, we actually staff this with personnel from the fire department, personnel from the police department, personnel from DPW. We have a transportation coordinator who coordinates all the transportation on school buses and evacuation. We have 3 special needs people who work with the special needs type of people. We have radiological officers who watch the radiological or radioactivity in case if there's any there. We have 2 or 3 people in here for the communications. We have the mayor's office here. So, I mean, we have a whole group of people that we work together. And I have to say, we all work great together. We all know our positions. We all know our responsibilities.
Like a basketball team. Stay in your position, though, right?
Right. And we work out great. And like I said, the last graded exercise last year from FEMA, we got an A+, which I was very proud of everybody.
Well, we were talking offline every now and then. We bump into each other. Did you say that Amesbury or yourself, you're kind of like in a hub for the communication for the area also? Was that a thing that you went over? Or
we have outside, you probably had a picture of our command post. That's a communications van, and that can go to any city to be used. We also use that for our rehab for fire, like I spoke before. We have gone to Newburyport, we've gone to Salisbury, we've gone to Raleigh, all around to use that. So it's an excellent tool. I consider ourselves a resource, and that's what we're labeled as, is resource management. If somebody needs something, to give you a prime example, back in 2010 when we had some flooding, the DPW needed to cone off Pleasant Valley Road.
Oh, yeah.
With the cement barriers, and I was able to get those from the state through MEMA to come out free of charge to do that. So we're actually a resource. We try to get as much as we can. We work with every department in town. We have a lighting unit out there that we can use during fires or during any type of police stuff. So, you know, we consider ourselves a very active group. I have a tremendous volunteers. All my people are volunteers.
Are you all set with volunteers, or did you need any more?
We always can use volunteers.
But they have to be trained and stuff.
Right. They have to go through training. They have to be trained in now we have ICS, Incident Command Structure. They have to be trained in that. We are now developing a CERT team. It's actually Community Emergency Response Team, where people from the general public can sign up and come in and be trained.
So there you go. If you're interested,
exactly.
Sign up through you, call you.
They can call me, or they can call any emergency management director within this area, and they'd be more than willing to help them. We're always looking for volunteers.
Which brings up another question. Part of doing the show was to set people at ease with what's currently happening around the world. So how do you feel we're set up for emergencies good in this town, right?
Yes. We have plans in effect. We have emergency plans. That's one of my responsibilities, to make sure that we have emergency plans. We work with the state, we work with the federal, we work with our local people, we train. We do have a great organization and just about ready for anything.
Well, I think that's why I want to get out to the town also, because sometimes if you're watching, I'll say it, CNN or Fox or anything else, you get a tendency that the world's crazy. But I also wanted to assure people that at least we have plans in here. You can contact Donald anytime you want, or if you get more involved, probably go to the city hall, I guess, right, to get more involved with procedures or something like that. Also, if they want to.
If they want to get into emergency management, by all means, call me. and we will sit down, fill out an application, go through an interview process. We also look for some people who don't want to get totally involved into this, but might want to sign up to be call takers during emergencies, like when we have to staff all these 12-line phones. We have those type of people. We train them and just to come in and take phone calls.
Well, I imagine there's a lot like routes for emergency routes to know. You need people to kind of help that. Maybe if elderly were, what type of medicines they have, where to bring them, who needs what stuff is what a good plan to help people in any type of emergency, I would imagine.
Yes, and we work closely with the senior center.
And you give talks there?
I give monthly talks there. We have what they call a grab-and-go bag now, where we encourage seniors to take this, and there's a list that goes with it to try to put the stuff in the bag, so if we do have to evacuate and we have to do it in a hurry, all they have to do is just grab that bag and go. If they're interested, they can call the senior center. They have the bags, and they'd be more than happy to give them out to everybody.
Well, that's good. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
No, I just want to thank everybody in town for their cooperation and help, and that's what makes public safety in the town work, is when we all work together.
This is just one last question. It's easy. Do you see from the olden days to today, does the civilians, are they more involved, more knowledgeable than they were maybe 20 years ago towards safety and stuff like that? We need more learning.
I see volunteers. However, with so busy people working 2 jobs and husband and wife, and it's very difficult for people to volunteer. But I do see people all the time volunteering. We do put in the paper every once in a while that we need volunteers. I think people basically like to get involved with the town, especially to be able to help out the elderly.
And I was thinking also more that your individual house, know your outlay of your house, know who's on medicine, know your escape routes, and that way you can help Donald or the fire department if anything does happen, that they know what to expect.
Exactly, and we have booklets here that would help them do that, that they can list their medication, that they can list their plans. We do encourage everybody or every homeowner to have a plan, a communications plan, where that if something happens, 1, they know where they can meet, 2, somebody out of town in case they need to contact as a contact person. That is really, really important in case of, again, a fire or some kind of disaster, that you have a specific meeting place and a communications with your
I'm just going to come over here.
Sound like my wife.
I'll call you first.
Right, or your children. Have a specific place, not near the incident, but a little further away, but at least you all know where you're going to meet.
Well, thank you again, and I hope, and I know it will come across, you have great enthusiasm. Like I said, you go back to 1969, so the knowledge is there. If you see Donald around at all, give him a thumbs up, tell him he's doing a great job, and if you do have time to help, that's great. And if you don't, just try to at least make sure your end's covered with people that live in your house, medicines, routes, anything you can do to help the community. This is a good time to get involved. You don't have to be a volunteer, just take care of your own little world, right? And then that's it.
And don't hesitate to give me a call.
Well, that's it from Amesbury's Emergency Management Center with Director Donald Swenson. Let's go on to the next segment. Welcome. We're down by the Merrimack River at the Lieutenant Derek Hines Bridge. It's a beautiful March day, so let's take a tour. Well, that's it for this segment from the mighty Merrimack, Lieutenant Derek Hines Memorial Bridge. On to the next. Welcome back. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. I'm standing here in front of the Doughboy Memorial as a reminder to all of us of all the ultimate sacrifice that many Americans have given in the past so that we could have the freedoms to go to school, enjoy the family, feel safe. I also want to thank Port Media, Chris and Sarah, for showing previous Our Town parades and the layout of the flags. Also want to thank Wynn Damon of WMBP for broadcasting so the Times would get out to more people. Also want to thank the Emergency Management Director, Donald Swenson, and all of you, the viewer. So work hard, stay healthy, and please take time to care for someone. We're out of here. Bye-bye.
Just like Michelangelo into the blue on heavenly wings. Cargo hand bones don't take off, no smoke, no mirror, no strings. I can't take off these dark shades. I can only say how it's too beautiful. Our town on TV, our town, there's you and me. Upside down, hanging out of an airplane.